Hello, welcome to Guide to the Unknown. I'm Kristen.
And I'm her little brother, William.
And this week we are talking about the Ring franchise, from conception, books, to all these movies.
From conception to death.
Yes. Basically. I mean, is it dead?
It seems like it's still continuing, I have to say. I'm
Right.
sort of joking around, but it does feel like something's missing now, and maybe it's, it'll continue on in some form. It's largely only being carried on by films in Japan,
Right.
from what I can tell.
Right.
But it seems like it's still pretty popular over there.
I mean, I feel like Sadako / Samara is such an icon now.
I know.
That they're just a mainstay of horror. Like, isn't there always somebody who's dressed like Sadako at Hollywood Horror Nights and Universal?
Probably.
Like at all times.
I do agree with you that I think that, like, this is an iconic
Yeah.
franchise built largely off of just a fun concept, and then the individual stories themselves seem to be largely, forget hit or miss, they seem like they're largely miss.
That's my impression. I don't know. I was going to say a lot. I don't know anything about the sequels and stuff.
Yeah.
But really, people really liked the first one, and then it seems like there have been diminishing returns.
I think this is a good example. There's something that, like, I'm always fascinated by looking at a franchise. And some franchises start real messy, and then they figure it out as they go along.
Right.
Friday the 13th. I like that first movie, but it was largely like super, derivative of 1,000 different things. And then with each new movie they made, they were like, all right, now Jason's the killer.
Yeah.
All right, let's give him a different mask.
Right.
And then they found it. And
They
like,
do keep it fresh.
They keep it a little bit and then they get stale from there.
Right.
But like they find their footing versus some things that come out the gate looking good.
Yeah.
Halloween comes out the gate strong.
Absolutely.
And then falls apart in the sequels, because how do you top, like, an already polished up idea?
Yeah, and very simple idea. And I feel like the impulse is to throw a lot of mustard on it.
That's
and sometimes
true,
it just doesn't need it.
It doesn't need mustard. And I think The Ring is a franchise kind of like that.
Yeah.
I won't say that the original story, the popular story, is simple necessarily, but compared to what comes later, it couldn't be more straightforward. Because the sequels get complicated in the extreme and messy.
Wow.
But that underlying idea is really, really effective. You watch a tape. It's a cursed tape. It has spooky images on it that you can't figure out. It's a cursed video. The second the video stops playing, you get a phone call saying you're going to die in 7 days. During those 7 days, you start having visions. There are burn marks of a hand on your arm. You see a little girl that's haunting you. The only way for you to save yourself is to make a copy of that tape and pass the curse on to someone else.
Right.
Fun idea. Super duper fun idea. And then the little girl ghost is really scary and interesting looking, and everyone seems to have collectively gone, yes.
Right.
We like that.
Yeah, and it's a fun visual thing. It has a cool visual hook, which is probably the biggest part of it becoming iconic. Like, it's a cool story and everything, but thinking of that girl crawling out of the well, crawling out of the TV, like, come on.
It's appealing, and it's scary,
It's
and
freaky.
it's inventive. Yeah, it's super
And memorable.
freaky. Yeah.
So
I think everybody really latched onto that, and that made Sadako in Japan, Samara in the US, really just the shape of this girl wearing all white, waterlogged, dirty clothes, wet black hair draped over her face.
Definitely going for the wet look.
Shambling toward you. That's just an icon of horror now.
Definitely.
It's exalted.
Yes, it is. So I think I'll start us off.
Sure.
I think because the Ring series is based on a series of books by an author named Koji Suzuki. So he has written other horror stuff, also fantasy and sci-fi stuff. Namely something, do you know about the weird thing that he wrote? Do I get to tell you this?
I guess not. Yeah, I don't know.
Yes! I was thinking that maybe you would have known this already, or you came across it in your research.
I mean, maybe I do. I don't know.
I think you would know already if you knew. He wrote a story called Drop, or The Drop in English, purely written on a roll of toilet paper.
Oh, no way!
Yes, I couldn't believe my eyes nor my luck.
Oh,
when I came
awesome.
across this. So it's a 9-chapter novella, and it's written in second-person narrative, which means you are the main character.
I don't like that.
Reading this thing. And it's about a goblin hiding in the walls of a public bathroom.
Okay.
So it's pretty short. It's written several times on each roll of toilet paper. So you could conceivably read this whole thing and you come to the end and you just rip that ply off and leave it for the next person.
Whoa.
It's crazy. Doing for toilets what The Ring did for VCRs, I think.
You're putting them on the map.
Just about time.
Prior to that, they were not popular.
They were out of vogue.
Actually, you know what's funny is if it did for toilets what it did for VCRs, it would mean we don't use them anymore.
I know. I just wrote that. So I'm a little bit unclear.
You thought it was safe to go back on the
Just
toilet.
when you thought it was safe to go to the bathroom. I'm a little unclear on whether it was actually released in English. It was obviously certainly released in Japan in 2009. But I found like weird conflicting stuff about whether it was released in English or not. I ended up spending so much time on this toilet paper roll thing that I was like, I simply must move on. So maybe it was released in English in 2012 is what I saw possibly, and then pulled from market, or perhaps it was announced to be released in English and it never happened. However, I was still able to come across an image of what seems to be the story on a toilet paper roll in English, and that's the only place I could find an excerpt that I would love to read to you.
This is really, really cool.
Yeah.
It's really cool, but I have to say, in terms of quality, this looks like a napkin.
Absolutely.
I don't like this. This looks like a cheap picnic napkin.
I completely agree with you. It looks stiff. Now, it does have at least 2 plies, but because you can see an area where the plies are coming apart.
Yes.
I'm noticing a trend, William, in Airbnbs.
The cheapest stuff.
What the hell is going on here?
Scots.
They're lucky I don't dock a star.
I would never dock a Scot.
Yeah.
You squat.
Scots.
Squat on the spot and you see a Scot? I'm not happy.
1 ply.
It's a shock.
It's shocking, and it's new.
Mm-hmm.
And it has been 2 Airbnbs that we have gone to now together.
I don't like it.
And they both had the 1 ply Scots.
The next time that
so
we happen
I'm curious
to, like,
about whether this is going to be a continuing thing.
The next time we travel together and we go to an Airbnb, one of us needs to run in first and peep the bathroom, and then just go, it's a Scots.
It's a Scots, and
then we
we'll
just cancel the booking
and get the hell out of there. Or bring our own toilet paper.
That would be ridiculous.
I know. Melissa on the Real World New Orleans Homecoming, which just finished, brought her own toilet paper to the house.
What?
Oh, man. I have been... Look, this has been, as you like to say and annoy me, living in my head rent-free. The Real World New Orleans was on in 2002. There was a reunion in 2022 called Homecoming, where they get all the same people from the real world back together again to live in a house. It was so good. It was up for a Critics' Choice Award just this weekend, and it lost, which is a crime.
To who?
I don't know. And people are talking about how it should be up for an Emmy. It was a great show.
Why'd you bring her own toilet paper?
She just likes it.
The thing that freaks you out about
Melissa.
traveling is the toilet, not the paper, usually.
Look, if I had known that we were going to be encountering Scots everywhere we went, it's not impossible I'd bring my own toilet paper. Although I'm not even nuts about my own.
What? Well, you're in control of that.
I know, but I do it for the environment.
Oh, you've got some hippy-dippy save the planet papier.
I don't really like it, but I do it. But I like it better than the Scots.
Understood.
All right, so back to this toilet paper.
Yeah, I can't wait.
So let me read you...
At least half the show should be about toilet paper.
Oh, I could go on and on. We should have a spin-off show called Toilet Talk.
We could.
Yeah.
We did literally have an episode of this show about toilet monsters.
That's right.
Specifically.
That's right, we did.
Just saying.
Okay, so I was only able to find an excerpt of this story, Drop or the Drop, by zooming in on this thing of toilet paper, which some websites say that you could buy on JapaneseToiletPaper.com, but then when you go to JapaneseToiletPaper.com and there's a thing that says like, the drop, and you click on it, it brings you to an error message. So I don't know what's going on out there.
Maybe it's available on, honestly, it might be available on Kindle, but like, what am I supposed to do?
I think it was only...
Go through like 1,000 Kindles to get to the end of this story?
I think it was only released in toilet paper.
That would be such an expensive story to do on a
What
Kindle.
are we supposed to do? It's so stupid.
I'm not getting it on a Kindle. That's disgusting.
Yeah.
You can't flush a Kindle. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. We're pulling it together
Here we
now.
go. All right, we'll pull it together in 1 second because I want to tell you that I just replaced my Kindle with a device called a Books Poke 3. Okay, anyway.
No, I gotta know about that now.
Because I want to be able to read books that aren't just from the Kindle store. So this operates with the Google Play Store, so I can use my Scribd account, I can use my Libby Library account, and I can use Kindle.
What's it called?
That's called a Books Poke 3. I just got it today.
Never heard about this in all my days.
I was on like the e-readers Reddit, like trying to figure this out. Doing that math meme, trying to figure out the best device so I could pull books from all the sources that I like. Ooh, Buchenspiel. Okay. So
Getting
this
it together
says,
now.
I'll try. Indented eye sockets hold deep darkness while the face itself is pale. It seems the face is not watching anything in particular, but keeping the whole stall in sight. Remember, we're in a bathroom stall.
Thank you.
The face watches you. It's strange you can visualize every detail of its unique expression in your head. I've seen that face before. Does it belong to someone I know, buried deep within my memory? The something landed on the toilet paper in your hand. You wonder if it's only a coincidence. It's evening during your something. It's drizzling outside. Something about the ceiling. Now I've lost it.
I'm surprised that it's not like, you sat down for your daily comfort.
It might be, but
then you notice the strangest thing. Somebody had scrawled all over the paper. You reached toward it. Your curiosity piqued. Like, why isn't it about the act of reading toilet paper?
Well, once again, remember, it very well may be that.
Yeah,
I am
who knows?
only
Right.
reading like a square and a half of this story.
Can't spare a square.
No.
Do you have the next chapter?
Yeah, it's a mean move. Somebody just rips off the toilet paper mid-story.
Or just leaves the last couple of sentences so that the whole thing is spoiled.
No.
Supposed to enjoy the go. This won't do.
No, it won't do. Well, it will do.
I'll
Yeah.
make. Okay.
Okay, so
Getting it together
that's-
now.
Yes. So that is where Koji Suzuki is coming from.
Okay.
But he did also write Ring, Spiral, and Loop.
Okay.
So Ring is the book that RINGU was based on. There were also some TV movies, maybe actually series, I'm not sure, but there was definitely a TV adaptation of Ring in Japan.
Oh, this is an enormous franchise.
Yeah.
6 novels, 7 comics, more than a dozen movies, 2 TV series, 2 video games, 3 radio plays, which I'm very curious
Oh,
about.
that's
Do
cool.
not know anything about.
Me neither.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So I'm going to give you synopses of these books. The first one is pretty close to The Ring, the movie.
Okay.
And I would invite you to jump in and, if you're like,
Absolutely.
this is different, whatever, we'll kind of do it that way.
Yeah.
The book The Ring sounds pretty cool to me. Then Spiral and Loop go into actually kind of like a weird medical and techno horror sort of direction that just doesn't personally appeal to me.
Yeah.
And in particular, the last book in this trilogy, Loop, I found the synopsis so hard to keep track of and confusing, even though it's short. If you go to the links in the show notes, which link to Wikipedia and a fandom page for these things, it's not super long, but it's so dense I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
But we'll start with talking about The Ring. So Ring was inspired by Poltergeist, which is apparently his favorite movie, but also about the Japanese concept of the Onryo, which I believe you spoke about in our J-horror episode, which is episode 130.
Yeah, that and our Grudge episode, which we did recently.
Oh, okay. Maybe it's not even in.
No,
the
I think
J-horror.
we touch on aspects of both, some of the lore background. I think is parts of 130 and the Grudge episode 222.
Okay, cool. So as a quick summary, but you can check those out for the entire thing. An Onryo is a spirit of vengeance who can cause physical harm to people who have harmed them in their life, and they can even kill them.
Yeah.
So they're able to breach that sort of afterlife life barrier and do physical things they wouldn't be able to otherwise, all in the name of revenge. And the Onryo is one kind of iteration of a category of ghosts called the Yuri or Yuri.
I don't know how you pronounce it,
Yeah.
but Y-U-R-E-I.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which is a ghost who's had a sudden or violent death and they can't pass on until they've resolved that emotionally. And so Sadako of The Ring, the Japanese version, definitely would kind of fall into those categories.
Fits the bill.
Quite nicely. So here's the story of Ring, the first book. There's a reporter named Kazuyuki whose niece dies with 4 other college students under weird circumstances, so he goes to check it out at the resort they were seen at before they died. He comes across a tape with weird images, some realistic and some not, very strobing and strange. Okay, so as you know...
Oh, come on. You weren't supposed to address that.
How could I not, William?
Okay.
As you know, if anything, it's a service to people who may not have joined us for a live show before. This is the kind of tomfoolery that's going on. We record each episode live on youtube.com/gttupod every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And there's a chat of lovely people who are talking to each other while we record the show. Because we were just talking about toilet paper, someone in the chat asked what brand of toilet paper everybody uses. People are going back and forth, sharing their favorite TPs. And Will, as I was talking, put in Quilted Northern FTW.
For the win. I didn't think Kristen was going to acknowledge it.
How could I not?
I'm sorry.
Are you kidding?
I will take the blame for this interruption. We're going to get it together.
Yes, we're back on track. And I don't want to name my brand of toilet paper because I already said I don't like it. So I don't want to give them negative publicity.
That's interesting.
But I do continue to use it.
You think if they get review bombed with like Kristen
No,
Anderson
no,
of
no,
Guide
no,
to the
no,
Unknown doesn't like this?
No, I don't think that at all. But I just don't want to talk crap
She
about
uses
someone.
it, but she has a grudge.
I do.
All right. Getting it together? Now.
Okay, we're back. So Kazuyuki is investigating his niece's death and her friends when he comes across this tape with weird images that are like flashing. Some are realistic, some don't. And it ends with the warning that the viewer will have 1 week to live. So the phone thing isn't a thing in the book. It's just on the tape, which is much cleaner, actually. The phone thing almost reminds me of, what's something that we refer to? Oh, Saw. As having like a lot of different elements going on. Like there's, he's called Jigsaw and there's a little puzzle piece and it's a morality thing and there's a pig and there's whatever.
And it's fine to have 1,000 things if they all sort of play nicely together, but I agree with you. I think watching the videotape and then the phone rings is a step too far. What it does that's interesting and fun for the movies is it gives everybody this level of like paranoia of like, all I did was watch a tape. Is someone watching me?
Right. Like
how
do
can
they
anyone know? This is an analog process.
Right.
Like how are they?
It's not connected to the internet.
How are they aware that I just finished watching a tape? That's kind of interesting.
Yeah, totally.
The annoying explanation I can give is there's ring imagery throughout the films. The big one is we're seeing from the inside of a well, looking up to the top of the well as somebody pushes a big stone over the entrance, leaving a light ring where the sun is just eking in. So it looks like a solar eclipse ring. Then you've got the
ring of the telephone.
Well, yeah. That's true.
Huh, I hadn't thought about that before.
It's a little annoying.
Yeah.
But it's not wrong.
It's not the worst either. I don't think it's like egregious, but just reading this, I was like, oh yeah, it could just be on the move. They're watching something already. That doesn't matter.
You will die in 7 days.
Right. Then interestingly, it says that there's only one way to stop it, and then there's a commercial that's been overwritten over that part of the movie, so you don't know why.
Oh, that's kind of fun.
You don't know how. Yeah, totally. But so Kazuyuki believes the tape and is like, what the hell? And I don't know how to solve it. What am I going to do? And he's totally freaked out. Now, this is a weird thing, and this is somebody who appears throughout the rest of the series. He shows the tape to his friend Ryuji, who's apparently a psychopath and jokes about having raped people.
What?
But this is like his best friend. I don't understand, but everything I read made a point of that, of saying that. It was in the fandom, it was in the wiki. So, I'm giving an overview of the books. Perhaps that plays into something else in the in the books. I'm not sure, but that's a thing. But this is like his best friend.
Yeah.
And Ryuji agrees that the tape feels scary and weird and asks Kazuyuki to make him a copy of the tape so that he can study it at home, which he then does. So after looking through the tape super carefully as the clock is ticking, they're able to trace the tape to the story of Sadako Yamamura, a person who had apparent telekinetic powers and disappeared 30 years ago. But unfortunately, during the course of their research, Kazuyuki's wife and infant daughter accidentally watched the tape because he left it lying around at home. So now it's really on because he knows they're in danger and he needs to figure out how to undo this. They find out that Sadako spent a lot of time visiting their father in a sanatorium while he had tuberculosis, and that a Dr. Jitaro who worked there became obsessed with Sadako, ultimately raping them in the woods by the hospital. So during the struggle, during which Dr. Jitaro found out that Sadako is intersex, so Sadako in this isn't a woman. Sadako injured the doctor during their fight, and he got super pissed and threw them into a well nearby and then crushed them with rocks.
Oh, God.
Unbeknownst to the doctor at the time, he had smallpox, and Sadako was infected by them during this whole thing.
Oh, so enter this weird medical virus.
Yes. Exactly.
Okay.
And so the tape is a viral thing.
Oh, like literally viral.
It becomes extremely literally viral as we go.
Oh.
Not in this first book, but yeah. So Kazuyuki and Ryuji visit the woods, because I guess the doctor tells them this or something, and they find a lodge where they, I think, surmise that the tape must have been located. There must have been a tape, a VHS tape in this lodge, like where this assault was happening, and Sadako's rage and psychic powers combined somehow converged onto the tape, creating this whole thing. So they find Sadako in the well and give them a proper burial, assuming that that might break the curse, but Ryuji dies anyway. So that leads Kazuyuki to believe that the fact that Sadako also had smallpox as a result of the assault meant that this tape has an almost literal viral nature, and that he hasn't died because he passed on the tape and a copy to Ryuji. And so now he must have his wife and child do the same thing to save their fate, which is similar to the end of The Ring.
Yes, right. Yeah. That's interesting. It's very interesting to hear where it came from. Mm-hmm. It's weird. This is such a weird point that I'm about to make, but we just did that. We just talked about this concept of like sometimes a movie is just good right off the bat. Yeah. And it gets worse over time. I'm going to backpedal. Mm-hmm. The origin for this story is this book. Yeah. And they had to make the movies to find the material that works. And I think the American movie, and I'm pretty sure that this is going to be sacrilege, I think the American movie mostly distilled all the elements together to make something that worked better.
I couldn't agree more. I felt exactly the same way when I was reading about this. I much prefer the plot of The Ring to the plot that is laid out in Ring.
To the origin.
Yes.
Yeah, there was some sifting, there was some discovery process, and there were some changes made.
You find all the kind of like cool, spookiest stuff and leave the things that are... We don't need for her to have had smallpox in order for there to be the lore of having to copy the tape and pass it on. It just is that way because it's that way.
Yes. And
I know, and all the
disturbing, like sickening, like
I don't know what the hell's going on with Ryuji. I looked a teeny bit, and then I was like, I don't want to personally.
Listen, they might have been reflections of some aspect of outlook on life or culture or something. I don't know. Right. I don't know.
But I don't care for it. I don't like that stuff. I don't like sexual assault in my horror stuff. I
certainly
just
don't. So this is weird. The Ring is not Halloween. Mm-hmm. The Ring is Friday the 13th, part 3. Not perfect, but this is how they got all the elements to work nicely together. We're just going to continue to repeat this over and over and over again.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
And I don't want to overly praise The Ring because I'm not the biggest fan in the world. Mm-hmm. But like in terms of the ingredients that we've got and the iconography that everyone latched onto, it seems to me that and Ringu, the original.
But to say,
movie.
maybe Ringu does the same thing. I actually don't know.
By and large, I think that Sadako is not a child.
Yeah.
And I've watched.
Yeah, Sadako's not a child. Yeah.
No, in the American movies, Sadako
is.
is Samara, and she's a little girl. But in the original Japanese story, she's a fully grown woman.
Right.
So I've now watched so many clips of so many movies.
Yeah.
They're starting to run together. But I did see somebody sexually assaulting Sadako and throwing her in a well.
All right,
And
so
that
they
might have
used
been
the source material.
Yeah.
So let's move on to Spiral. Like I said, this one is okay to me. I feel that they get more and more not my speed.
Yeah.
And there's just so much going on. They're so kind of convoluted. I kind of want to see if I can sort of speed this up a little bit. But it takes place a day after the events of The Ring, and there's a former classmate of Ryuji's who's named Ando and is assigned to Ryuji's autopsy. And it's discovered that Ryuji actually died from a strain of smallpox that was eradicated 30 years ago. Well, smallpox was altogether 30 years ago.
Right, yeah.
So the tape kills you in these books by giving you smallpox. It's
Okay.
not just like spontaneous dying or whatever.
Yeah.
It creates a smallpox tumor in you that ends up killing you. And they also find like newspapers inside Ryuji's body with some sort of like code that ends up spelling the word ring.
Okay.
We meet Ryuji's assistant Mai, who knows about this curse and tells Ando about it, but he's like, curses, whatever, like, I'm a man of science, I don't know about this. And in the process of reading the notes that Ryuji had made about the videotape in the first book, the virus of the ring is able to change mediums from the tape to the document that Ando is now reading.
Oh.
And he all of a sudden starts having all these thoughts about Sadako and the well, that Sadako is able to kind of like I guess it wouldn't be telekinesis or, whatever, psychically
yeah.
kind of put into his head.
Well, considering, there's a stretch, but I can marry these things together.
Mm-hmm.
A videotape, home film videotape, is a document.
That's exactly the point they make. It's
Right.
and they're just changing mediums to a written document.
A written document, yeah.
So Mai goes missing, who had been Ryuji's assistant, and Ando meets her sister Misaka a few days later, who he falls in love with, and he later finds out something extremely crazy. So they find Mai's dead body.
Okay.
And it turns out, how do I even explain this? What did I write? Okay, it turns out that Mai watched the tape while ovulating. And Sadako was able to conceive herself in Mai's body and control her. Then she's born 7 days later and kills Mai with her psychic powers and discards her. Misako, who Ando has fallen in love with, is Sadako. She is this Sadako who was born from Mai's body.
Okay.
And so Misako Sadako tells Ando to never disobey her because he doesn't know who he's dealing with, or I guess it would be never disobey them because he doesn't know who he's dealing with, and to publish Ryuji's files because they can dominate the world somehow with them. I don't know.
Sure, whatever.
We also find out that the guy who's the lead from the first book, Kazuyuki, and his family died in a car crash. But in investigating it, his wife and daughter died before him in the car crash. So perhaps they were already dead, and then he drove them all.
Somewhere, right.
And they all died.
Now, what you just described is basically roughly the events of the first two Japanese movies.
Okay.
So they made Ringu, and they made Spiral, and so those are the adaptations of those first two books.
Right.
Released on the same day.
Oh, yes. That's right. Yeah, we talked about this. It must have been in J-horror.
So, here's what's weirder.
Yeah.
The Grudge movies, which we talked about in episode 222.
I shouldn't presume anything.
Grudge 1 and Grudge 2 in Japan were released on the same day.
Okay, that's
and
probably
so
what
the
I'm thinking.
same thing happens here with The Ring, but it's because of something even weirder. In 1995, there was a TV movie adaptation of Ring.
Uh-huh.
And so when they were making them into like real films a few years later, they decided to remake the TV movie.
Yeah.
But because that story had already been told before in entertainment, they were like, let's also make the sequel too and release them simultaneously. A little extra bang for your buck.
Sure.
We've already adapted the book once on television. We're doing it again in film, but we'll give you the sequel at the same time. The TV movie, I watched some clips of because I wanted to see like different versions of the tape that kills you.
Yeah.
You know, what are they? How do different, creative teams adapt a tape that kills you? In the TV movie, when you watch it, it's mostly footage of a volcano exploding.
Okay.
And dice. A lot of dice jumbling
I remember seeing
around.
something about this. Yeah.
Sadako in the movie is completely nude
Okay.
the entire time. It's very strange.
Yeah.
And then in the 1998 movies, it's the sort of like classic image that we think about. The like, the woman wearing all white, long black hair covering her face.
Yeah.
Sort of like shambling toward you, almost like a zombie. But the events that you just described are basically the first two movies. First movie is well received. Spiral, not well received at all.
Yeah.
Very poorly received, in fact. So much so that a couple years after that, they made a movie called Ring 2.
Yes.
Basically ignoring the events of Spiral, and it's not based on one of these books.
Interesting.
Distinctly not based on any of these books.
Is there a book adaptation of Loop?
A movie adaptation?
That's what I meant. Sorry.
Maybe. They all seem to have like different names, so
Okay.
I'm not sure.
All right. So let's move on to that one. This is the last book in the trilogy, although there are some books of short stories that have short stories that live in the world of this.
Okay.
But this is really the main, 3 parts of the story. And this was the one that I was like just having a really hard time following it and focusing on it.
Excellent.
The first sentence will show you how weird it is. There are 100 supercomputers grouped together in an attempt to create human life, and this project is called Loop.
Okay.
A student named Kaoru goes to check them out after his father died of something called metastatic human cancer, or MHC. Kaoru meets and falls in love with Reiko, who gets pregnant and is more vulnerable to MHC because of it, for whatever reason. So looking into the diseases, you know what? I had a typo. That was why it was so confusing. It's Kaoru later found out that his father was working on the secret Loop project because the last surviving member of that team, Amano, tells him about it. So Kaoru goes to their facility in New Mexico, puts on VR goggles, and is able to see the origin of the Ring virus, which means he sees the events of the previous 2 novels played out in front of him from his perspective. Amano tells him that the creator of Loop wanted to recreate Ryuji's death so that they could clone Ryuji and insert him into someone's womb. But when they did, Ryuji had the Ring virus already. So when that baby was born, it had a mutated form of the virus that became MHC. After an encounter with the founder of the Loop project, Kaoru finds out that he is that baby.
Oh, no.
And he's immune to MHC.
Okay.
This is a good thing.
So he's immune to Sadako.
We can use this.
Okay.
Kaoru agrees to be studied even though the procedure may kill him because he has to be molecularized in order to be studied. So it's like when Mike TV in Willy Wonka turns into just dust.
Yeah.
So the founder puts Kaoru's molecules into the Loop machine, and the founder promises that Kaoru's wife, Reiko, will always be able to see him through the VR goggles. So even if he can't come back, he can still be with his wife somehow. In the VR world, he's reborn through Sadako as Ryuji and is able to give Amano a vaccine for MHC. And
that is so complicated.
Ends with he's in the VR world and he feels like Reiko is looking over him.
That is insanely complicated and too much.
It's a lot. And just very like medical and techy and not very scary.
Yeah, I have no idea. I don't understand that. The one thing that I think is an interesting concept is somebody's dead, but don't worry, you can continue to visit them in VR.
Yeah.
The entire idea of Sadako and ghosts and everything is this idea that you die and you continue to live on.
Right.
Sadako, as a weird curse ghost, creates a videotape, impossibly,
Right.
that allows her to seemingly come back.
Right.
She curses you, but that's what allows her to continue haunting the planet,
Popping out.
it seems, and kill people and stuff like that. Using technology to mimic what a curse does so that you can visit somebody who's dead in VR is almost interesting, but I don't like it.
Right. And he's not really, I guess not exactly that he's dead. He's molecularized, so he can't be back in human form. I guess he still has his consciousness or something, but it only lives in the VR world of the loop.
Well, let's say that they take my brain. Let's say
Yeah.
that they found out how to remap the human brain and digitize it. They do that to me,
Yeah.
right? So they plug my brain into a computer, and then you're able to see me on screen and go like, hey, Kristen, I'm in TV now. I've been digitized.
Yeah.
My corpse is on the
there's still a
floor
dead
or
body.
something.
Yeah.
I died, and that's a copy of me.
I guess it's the argument
can
of
say-
whether there's a consciousness and a soul that lives on.
Did it hand off?
Right.
Or did you copy it and kill the original?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think in this it's a handoff.
And they say that.
You just went from well, maybe it does and I didn't catch it. I don't know.
Say that, Kristen, but I don't believe it.
Can't.
All right, well, let's wrap up the Japanese movies because I'm going to
Yeah.
speed run.
Okay.
So, I don't know that story was adapted in film, by the way. That was the first time I've ever heard anything like that.
Crazy. But William, before you speedrun these Japanese films, let's talk about patreon.com/GTTUpod.
Yeah.
I
okay.
feel we must. This is where you can support Guide to the Unknown. And as a thank you, we have tons of bonuses. We make weekly bonus episodes every single week that come out on each Monday. We have commentaries for all of the Scream movies. We have a private Discord that's just for Guide to the Unknown listeners. And you can get that when you decide to donate to us monthly. And we have a number of different tiers that you can choose from at your comfort level.
That's right.
Yep.
So, for example, this past Monday, out right this second if you sign up to the Demon tier, we've got an episode where we look at cutting-edge news of the day.
Yes.
A lot of stuff about all those UFO reports that come out, looking a lot into Tom DeLonge's To the Stars Academy of Arts and Sciences, which is like a production company.
Yeah.
Really, that is both researching aliens and also producing movies and stuff.
Yeah.
To, I don't know, spread awareness of,
I think,
It gets real wild. We watched a
Yes.
trailer for his new movie in that episode. You can go get it right now.
That's right.
And this coming Monday, the Ring Party will continue, I think in a bit more a direct sense. We're going to look at a lot of clips of The Ring.
Yeah.
Some of them are going to be parodies of The Ring, because The Ring is a widely parodied franchise. So I know
'cause
for
it's
sure
so huge.
Scary Movie we're going to look at. But I want to look at clips of like Sadako and Samara and ways that they've appeared in movies and stuff, and pranks that people have used, and I don't know, just like weird stuff. Like,
It's a Ring mix-em-up.
Exactly. A Ring mix-em-up is coming on Monday, so come
Yeah.
back for that.
Absolutely.
But so patreon.com/GTTUpod. It keeps the lights on. It keeps the party going. And we can't thank you enough if you do decide to support us, and we really hope that you enjoy the shows that are up there.
Yeah.
There are about like 60.
Yeah.
We've got like 60 bonus shows just waiting
Pretty
for you.
awesome. And that's beside other little bonuses. Like those Scream commentaries don't count as bonus shows.
They're just
we
in
just
there.
also do that. And we have other things like that as well.
Yep.
So go check it
100%.
out.
Go check it out, everybody. All right, so let's speed run some of these movies because there are a lot of them. So I'm going to move pretty fast. I have not seen.
Yeah.
I watched clips from all of these. I have not full on watched any of these. So as I mentioned, they made a direct sequel to Ring called Ring 2, not based on any of those books that you just described. It was poorly received. Then they made Ring 0, Birthday. It's sort of a Sadako origin story, but weirdly partway through, they start talking about how there are two Sadakos that need to merge to create the ultimate Sadako
There's
that
a
we
lot of,
know
like,
from the
merging
story.
and womb stuff happening. More than I expected.
Certainly, very, very complicated. People did not seem to like it.
Yeah.
So that was in the year 2000 that they made Ring 0. So before we get the American remake, there were already 1, 2, 3, 4, 5
Wow.
Sadako movies in Japan. I want to stay with Japan, though, for now, because in 2012, 12-year gap, but they come back, they make Sadako 3D, it's called. And now I want to talk about this for a minute because it's got terrible reviews.
Uh-huh.
Again, almost everything outside of the original Ring. They all
Very
seem to have
bad.
terrible reviews. But almost everything I read about this, kind of liked.
Sounds kind of sweet.
Kind of liked. And the clips look like garbage.
Yeah.
It's called Sadako 3D, and it really does feel like Friday the 13th Part 3D or whatever.
I
Because
don't like that one.
they like throw like a yo-yo in your face in that
Yeah.
movie. Just like anything.
No, I don't like it.
Anything to toy with the idea that people have 3D glasses on.
Right.
And very much Sadako 3D
I completely
does this.
understand, but it's not for me.
It looks very cheap. So somebody is trying to resurrect Sadako.
Mm-hmm.
She's been gone all this time. 12 years she's been gone.
Yeah.
So this serial killer psychopath guy wants to recreate Sadako. So he starts killing women and throwing them in a well.
My God.
And the bodies are just piling up at the bottom.
It's an effed up idea, but it's a good idea.
I've had this idea
Yeah.
on the show where we talk a lot about ghosts and the ways they're created.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody tries to follow that rule book
Yeah, to create another
and
one.
gets it kind of wrong. I still think you could build an entire story off the backbones of that
Yeah.
concept. That doesn't seem to be what Sadako 3D is, so maybe I'm safe.
Mm-hmm.
But so the cursed video is still going around, or he's proliferating it. It's a little confusing, but it's looking for a host.
Yeah.
So now people will watch the cursed tape, and at the end, a voice will sort of examine them and go, "You are not the one."
Oh.
Instead of 7 days.
Okay.
Hunting. And eventually it lands on somebody and says, "You are the one." And it's a girl who is psychic and is chosen to be the new Sadako. At the end of the movie, Sadako seems to possess this person.
Yeah.
She gets cocooned in Sadako's hair. And basically...
Always with the hair.
Always with the hair. And basically it seems like Sadako wins.
Cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
There is Sadako versus Kayako in 2016, which is a very fun and dopey idea. It's often mentioned that like The Grudge and The Ring in Japan are similar to Nightmare on Elm Street or Friday the 13th
Right.
here. There was like the slasher craze kind of thing going on, the ghost craze.
Mm-hmm.
Tons of sequels. Tons and tons of sequels. Some of them straight up suck or experimental or whatever, but people just liked them.
Yeah.
They just wanted to see more. Give me
Yeah.
Kayako creeping down the stairs going,
So they want a Freddy versus Jason kind of vibe.
Exactly. And they did exactly that in 2016. In 2015, this movie was announced on April Fool's Day.
Mm-hmm.
And I almost think that maybe they were literally joking, and then people really seemed to like it.
Maybe.
I think they were like testing the waters.
Yeah.
But so they actually made the thing. And it sounds more like a Ring movie than a combination of the two franchises.
Okay.
The idea is this. The Ring curse is getting more intense. Forget 7 days. We're down to 2.
Oh.
You watch the tape, you've got 2 days.
Boy.
There are a lot of psychics in the Ring franchise, it seems. So they find out about the Grudge House. And basically, in order to try to defeat the Ring curse, they're like, here's an idea. We go to the Grudge House. We bring a little TV. We watch the Ring tape in the Grudge House. By stepping foot in the Grudge House, we're cursed with the Grudge curse.
Yeah.
By watching the Ring tape, we're cursed with the Ring curse. Kayako from the Grudge and Sadako from the Ring might then fight over who
That's
claims
awesome.
each victim.
And we can like sneak out the back
I guess.
while they're
or
distracted by each other.
they'll kill each other, maybe.
Yeah.
You know?
That's awesome.
And so in the movie, there is a knockdown, drag-out fight where Sadako and Kayako are fighting each other, like battling. And they,
Yeah.
you know, like they battle the way that you'd think they would. Kayako's always creeping on the ground and stuff.
Right.
But ultimately, it seems like neither one of them is really losing. It seems like they're at a stalemate. And so everybody's like, well, it's only a matter of time until they probably turn to us.
Yeah.
Maybe they team up.
Right.
Who knows? So there's a well outside, and they have an idea. They're going to lure the 2 ghosts outside. Somebody stands by the well and goes to try to trap the 2 ghosts in the well.
Mm-hmm.
But Kayako and Sadako are both running at the person who's standing at the well. The person standing on the well falls into the well, drops out of the way. So Kayako and Sadako slam into each other.
Right.
And they form a writhing mass of eyeballs and flesh and hair that's like roiling and churning.
That's awesome.
And then ultimately it falls down into the well, seemingly crushing the person that had lured them in the first place. And then comes crawling out of the wall something new. not quite Kayako, not quite Sadako.
Yep.
It is known as Sadakaya.
That's right.
A full portmanteau of the two names. It moves like each of them. It's sort of like creeping and shambling and zombie-ish like Sadako, but it likes to do this like crawly, broad-armed thing like Kayako.
Yep.
And it does, of course, the croak voice. But so Sadakaya now turns its sights on all the survivors. And the entire idea at the end of the movie is, we blew it, we lose.
Right, we made a super monster. We actually watch a clip of this in that Patreon episode that we were just talking about.
Yes.
So that'll be on Patreon on Monday.
Make sure you check it out if you want to see Sadakaya.
That's awesome.
So then in 2019, there's sort of like a reboot. It's just called Sadako. And it seems like it is...
It's like Logan.
It is like Logan.
Is she on the road?
It does seem a lot more serious.
Uh-huh.
And spooky and... But the fact of the matter is, every time that I read the plot to these later sequels, I just started being like, almost like you would get with like a slasher, where you just eventually like, all right, put Jason on a boat to Manhattan.
I don't see why not.
I don't care. Just who does he kill?
Yeah.
You start to just sort of like lose the thread. And I do feel like that's sort of where it's at. But the franchise is just so popular. They've had Sadako like throw out the opening pitch at baseball games.
Yeah, right.
It's like having the Freddy Krueger breakfast cereal or something. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's just gotten so gigantic.
I would never eat that.
No, thank you.
No.
So let's jump. Let's talk about the American movies now. And again, I do think that this is going to be somewhat controversial.
Okay, I'm ready.
Ringu is pretty cool. I did watch Ringu. But, and again, maybe it's just like a cultural thing or familiarity or something, but like, there are just some advancements in technology and cinematography and literally them throwing money at it, I think, that makes The Ring really scary.
Yeah.
And it's also very boring.
Yeah.
I should say that too. It's very slow paced. It's like 2 hours long.
Yes, I know.
But I've seen people in the chat here talk about this. I know this from my own personal life. I think we might be basically perfectly of the age for when this movie came out. We saw it, friends saw it, and were freaked out by it.
Right.
And so that nostalgia, that reputation it had from when we were kids, really, it continues today. And it gave me a lot more affection for it than I really thought I would have had.
I can completely see that. I remember watching at my friend Rosie's house, and then I got in the car to go home, and my air conditioner was like, there was like condensation. I was like, Samara.
Yeah, she's
coming.
This is an interesting movie. It is a lot of fun. And so it starts the way that Ringu starts, admittedly. This is like the same way that it opens. But 2 girls are like hanging out with each other, maybe having like a sleepover, just like teenagers chilling. And they start, one of them telling the story of, there's this videotape that kills you. You watch, it's got all this scary stuff on it, and then the phone rings. And a voice tells you, you have 7 days before you die. And the other kid is kind of freaked out and goes, I've watched that.
Yeah.
I saw that tape a week ago tonight. A little too convenient, you know, whatever. It's a little corny. It's a little silly. It's a little dopey. Honestly, acting-wise, it feels like the opening of Scream 4. I realized, like, almost entirely it feels like Scream 4.
I can absolutely see that.
But so then, you know, one of them goes downstairs because the phone is ringing. But, it's just their mom checking to make sure everything's okay.
Yeah.
But when she goes back upstairs, her friend is nowhere to be seen. Water is pouring out from under a closed, locked door. When she gets inside, she finds her friend in the closet. And I remember the first time I saw this. I've heard other people talk about being like, oh my God, the first time that I saw the face.
Yeah.
In the closet, the friend who had seen the tape and the 7 days are up, she is curled into the corner, crouched on the floor, almost like arms wrapped around herself to like protect herself, or in so much fear she was rocking back and forth. And her face, her skin is gray and like bloated and mottled, like the life has been drained out of her entirely. All the color has left her skin.
Yeah.
And her jaw is impossibly distended down and like wrenched to the side. Her mouth is like gaping open, eyes rolled back in her head. They cut to that in this movie as like a flashback. They go like, I found her. Pew! It's like a jump scare moment where you see it.
Yeah.
But man, do I like have like vivid memories of seeing that for the first time as a teenager, and it freaked me out.
Yeah.
It was
it's
so
freaky looking.
scary. And that's what I'm talking about, where it's like Ringu helped refine the book. It helped refine it to tighten up the story and get it more palatable.
Right.
But technology and just literal dollars, not that I will always champion dollars, but like
But sometimes you're using dollars to hire a technical makeup person.
Exactly.
Who can execute it perfectly.
In Ringu, whenever somebody dies because Samara appears, they just go like, ah, and then they freeze frame and cut the film to black and white.
Yeah.
It's just a technological limitation, really. But the American movie is really scary for that reason. They were just able to achieve on it, I think.
Definitely.
The entire movie is bizarre and fun, but for people who don't really know. So the videotape itself, Naomi Watts now is watching it. She's got a son named Aiden who only calls her by her first name.
Yeah.
He'll be like, Rachel, what are we doing, Rachel? And
Right.
it's a little annoying. He's a little too smart. It's clear that he's a riff on Haley Joel Osment from The Sixth Sense.
Completely.
Like, I know that the kid character exists in the book and in Ringu, but in the American adaptation, it feels like a rip-off of Sixth Sense. But so she watches the tape and then realizes, oh, if I look at the iconography on the tape, it relates to things in real life. Almost like Final Destination, where somebody has a premonition or a vision, and then they reverse engineer what it means to try to get to fix the underlying problem.
Right.
She's now going down this rabbit hole of learning about the tape, where it came from, and this little kid who in the American version is named Samara. And the fun thing at the end, when she ultimately finds the body in the well, and in this is like classical Western ghost story stuff. She was in the well. We've got to give her
right.
We have got to bring her to hallowed ground. We have to give her a Christian burial or something.
Well, that's what they think will work in Ring, and no.
No, her son goes, you set her free? You weren't supposed to do that. And the movie ends with this idea that she made it worse.
Yeah.
Not just that the curse goes on, but she made it worse.
The juice is loose.
The juice is loose.
Yeah.
So let's talk about The Ring 2. This one is dunked on, dumped on.
I don't remember having seen it. I'm
Hyper.
really not sure.
Hyper crapped on.
Yeah.
Like you're sitting on the bowl, reading the toilet paper.
Yeah, using
for
the
Ring 2.
drop.
Exactly. You're going for the drop.
Hopefully you're not at an Airbnb.
People endlessly dragged this movie through the mud.
Yeah.
Were they right? Yes. Were they also a little bit wrong? Yes. I have the most controversial opinion of all this episode. I watched The Ring 2 being like, this is the one that really sucks.
Yeah.
And it's bad. There's also a lot of stuff in it that I was like,
Do you like it more than The Ring?
no.
Okay, I thought that's what you were going to say when we said it was a very controversial opinion.
Oh, no, that would be hyper. That would be like,
that'd be like
this
me,
would become a cursed video, a cursed episode.
That would be like me liking the Tom Cruise Mummy more than I like The Mummy.
That is a pretty big shocker.
I know. I got a lot of feedback on that.
Did you really?
Yeah, a lot
Did
of.
you get in trouble?
Yeah, I got a lot of fearless feedback.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So in this movie, it is such a mess. It is so confusing. But here's what I've got from it. It was directed by the guy who directed Ringu and Spiral, the original Japanese director. They brought him over and gave him The Ring 2, which I think is like actually really impressive.
Yeah, I think it's cool.
And a cool thing to do, because like Hollywood doesn't always do stuff like that.
Yeah, it likes to be kind of insular.
Exactly, but they invited the original director to come over here and make a sequel to The Ring. However, they gave him such a hard time about what he was filming and why. They micromanaged everything. He said that he will never make another Hollywood movie again. He will never work in this franchise again, ever, 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 ever.
Wow.
He will only make movies in Japan. Okay.
That sucks.
That does suck.
Well, he's fine. I mean, maybe it's not the worst thing in the world for him. He's just like, all right, it was a mistake, but maybe he's still just making movies, but in Japan. And
I
happy.
hope so. I have not followed up.
Right.
But Naomi Watts did not want to make this. She said she hated the script, but her contract said you got to make this movie. So it's like a doomed movie.
Yeah.
You know? So in the opening, we have another sort of like urban legend type opening. I also like this intro. It's also cheesy. It's a fun setup. The tape. A guy takes a girl out on a date. She's kind of like, I'm amazed that like you're like the jock, you're like the football hero, that you're even looking at me.
Yeah.
And he goes, well, maybe it takes a while to notice something good before it's gone, babe. There's some like dunderheaded oath. So he brings her over to the house. The whole thing is he watched the tape and he needs a rube.
Gotta pass it on.
He's got to pass on the curse.
This friggin' guy.
So he goes, babe, we'll smooch. But first, I need you to watch a movie for me.
Yeah.
It's always weird how people set this up. They're like,
Yeah, right.
I need you to look at something for 2 minutes.
Right.
It's strange.
Like, why?
So he gives her the tape and he goes in the other room. And the second that he walks into the room and he's alone, he drops the cool guy act and he's like sweating and like grabbing the table. And I thought that was kind of neat.
This sounds pretty good to me.
See the dichotomy of somebody who's trying to be cool, but then they drop the facade and they're so nervous alone.
Right.
And then
My tummy.
he's staring at the clock going like, come on. And then at a certain point he goes, just hit play, start the tape. He's like getting aggro. It's like really weird.
Yeah.
And then you hear the tape start. And it's very telltale, the sound of that tape.
Mm-hmm.
And he starts to like relax a little bit. But then things start going haywire. Technology starts going haywire. And water starts pooling from under the door. And he rushes into the room. And the tape is ending. It's cutting to static at the end. She should have watched the whole thing. But as
Yeah.
he walks around, she was covering her eyes the whole time.
Oh.
She didn't actually watch it. She was too scared.
That sounds good.
And he gets got.
I like that.
And it's a tidy little ghost story.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
It's an
It's really
effective
good.
little the cold opens of these movies are like better than the movies.
Yeah.
And they're corny.
Right.
But I like them so
I don't
much
mind
more.
corny.
'Cause
Yeah.
then we're back to Naomi Watts in this grand epic of fighting Samara. She's moved. Aiden is also a psychic kid, unclear. The tape is back in their lives because somebody in this new town talks about a kid dies and she's like, my God, it's happening again.
Yeah.
Naomi Watts tracks down the tape and tries to smash it. Samara, the ghost, is summoned by that and sees her and she goes like, it's you. So now Samara is interested in Naomi Watts again.
Yeah.
But the whole thing becomes much like your books about possessing Aiden to try to be reborn in him,
Oh, okay.
which
Oh,
is messy.
man.
And then the rest of the movie is a lot about like, is Naomi Watts going to have to kill her own son? And did Samara's birth mother try to kill her? A lot of people going like, did you have postpartum depression when you had Aiden?
Uh-huh.
Like weaving in these elements of, therapy and mental disease,
Right.
mental illness, mental
Keep it
disease.
out. Well,
I know. But like, this doesn't fit. I
Nah.
don't like this. And there are really funny, embarrassing shots where they're like zoom in on Aiden. He's like, ah! Like it's just poorly directed.
yeah.
The whole thing is messy. There are embarrassing CGI deer that react to him. There's a whole thing that like Samara, animals don't react to her. They know something's wrong with her basically. So
Yeah.
animals get aggressive around her. So there's this insanely long scene where deer, CGI deer, it looks like they made a CGI deer
Yeah.
and then hit copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste. And 2002, the CGI was good, but not good enough to
Yeah.
make this look normal. They're just cartoon Roger Rabbit deer.
Maybe you gotta skip it then.
Oh, it's insane. It's
Woof.
out of control. Samara possesses Aiden. He no longer calls. The telltale is that he goes, I love you, mommy. He doesn't call
She's
her
like,
Rachel anymore.
Yeah.
And she knows. So she drowns him in a bathtub.
Oh my God.
The whole thing is, it all
But she like
boils down
drowns
to...
Samara out of him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It all boils down to when she finds Samara's birth mother, it's Sissy Spacek,
Oh.
now in a mental institution, and she had tried to kill Samara right after Samara was born. Why? She told her to. And Aiden, in a dream state, the real Aiden,
Yeah.
communicates with Naomi Watts and goes, she can't hear us when we're sleeping. She never sleeps. You're going to have to kill me. And so it's this weird level of like,
Man.
is Naomi Watts doing the right thing in a way that in
Seems
some
complicated.
It's overly complicated. In some ways it's interesting. In some ways feels a little inappropriate.
Yeah.
It feels
Yeah. It doesn't sound great.
it feels like a bummer and it's
Uh-huh.
icky and people did not like this movie. At the end of the movie,
Yeah.
Naomi Watts gets sucked into the TV. And she battles.
She's probably better off.
Yeah, she battles Samara in a well, and then she climbs to the top of the well while Samara like does this weird herky jerky climb
Which we
behind her.
also watch on Patreon.
That's right.
Upcoming.
Gets up to the top and pushes that stone thing to close the well.
Yeah.
And Samara's whole thing was she wants to become a kid again, alive, so she can have a family, so she can have a mommy again. And so she's going, Mommy!
This is sad.
Mommy! From inside the well, and then it zooms out on Naomi Watts. She goes, I'm not your fudging mommy! And she slams the well shut.
Oh, yeah. Maybe I've watched clips or something. I remember that.
The movie ends suggesting that this really is all done and behind them.
Okay. Well,
And
that's
then
good.
we get Rings in 2017.
Yeah.
The opening of the movie is people on an airplane. This is the worst one, but I also still liked it. A woman's like, "You look nervous. Scared to fly?" He's like, "Oh, I don't want to talk about it." She goes, "Well, penny for your thoughts, big lug.
Yeah.
You can help to talk." And he goes, "I watched this videotape 7 days ago.
Oh my
I
God.
just have to get through the next..."
Casually dropping that on his seatmate?
On a stranger. And he goes, "I just have to get through the next 5 minutes." It's like so close. And then all of the seat back monitors
That I've
turn
seen.
to the ring.
And I like it.
Which I was super interested in.
Yeah,
I
like
wanted
it.
to see a million little Samaras
Totally.
come out of all of the seats.
Like Gremlins.
But they like cut away before they show what really happens. They imply, well, they imply is the wrong word. They overtly show. The cockpit door flies open. The pilots are already dead in there, which they didn't watch the
Sounds
tape.
crazy.
Maybe everybody on the plane had watched the tape. I don't know.
Right.
You'd think that it'd be the one guy, and then maybe the plane would be affected because the one guy has Samara after him.
Yeah.
But it really acts like everybody in the plane is now subject to this curse. So the pilot door flies open, and the last thing you see before they just cut to black is a very poorly, like, Compton Samara climbing out of a little monitor in the pilot's cockpit.
That sounds so ridiculous.
And then they smash out of that intro.
Man.
And they cut to the guy from Roseanne
Oh, what? John
and
Goodman?
Big Bang Theory.
It's some. Oh, Jonathan. What the hell is it? Galecki?
Johnny Galecki.
Yeah.
Johnny Galecki is thrifting,
Uh-huh.
and he buys an old VCR. And he's going
That
to...
makes sense.
Yeah, and then he's alone in his studio, and he's watching it, and it's the Ring tape.
Mm-hmm.
And then he looks out the window, and it's raining, but all the rain is going up.
Yeah.
And then, boom, smash. Rings, title card. I'm like, you had 2 cold opens for
That's weird.
Rings?
Yeah.
It's like a mess.
That's weird.
And then we're introduced to like another thing, and then we meet our main character. It's very weird.
Uh-huh.
But the fun idea here, once we get to the real movie, it's 3 years after Johnny Galecki watched the tape.
Yeah.
He survived.
Ah.
He's a college professor.
He's the one.
He's the one. And he has been studying this tape for 3 years. He is one of these college professors that's a little too personable.
Yeah.
They show him teaching a class. He's like, what is life about? Life is about finding that moment.
Is he getting lost in his own stuff as he's teaching, and then like, class dismissed.
Class dismissed.
Have your tests for tomorrow.
He's so like the cool guy professor.
Yeah.
He's like, it's about having fun. It's about having sex. Yes, but that's not what I'm talking about, guys. It's like, stop saying this to these people who are children.
Thank God
I
I
don't
didn't
care
go
that
to
they're in college. These are like, sucks. You suck, Johnny. You suck, dude. Hey, teach what you suck.
Hey, you suck.
You suck, bro.
Spitball. Yeah.
Sucks. And it's just like, I'm not talking to these kids about sex.
No.
But so what he's doing is he's been studying the tape and writing papers on it. But nobody knows that he's doing this. So I'm like, where you could be.
He's distributing the idea through documents.
He is. He's got a secret club. All right. And there's a woman named Julia. She's our new main character. Her husband goes to this college and he's disappeared. So she goes to try to find him, meets Johnny Galecki, and finds out about this secret floor of a college building where when the doors open of an elevator, it's a long hallway and then a television at the end.
Well, that's sweet.
And that was a cool image.
Yeah.
And it's his security system, because just beyond that, there's like a nightclub that he runs of people watching the Ring tape
Oh my
and
God.
passing it on back
This
and
guy's a
forth
real
between each
sickie.
other. And they'll have he'll photograph people who have seen the Ring and then have the image blown up and hung on the wall. So you have all these distorted faces hung on the walls.
Yeah.
And people are freaking out.
It's
And
like
they're
a serial killer.
a little bit. And people are freaking out and being like, I'm just nervous because like the person I'm supposed to pass the Ring to, they haven't gotten in touch, man. What am I going to do? And he goes, relax. I'll get you a tail. Just relax. You're freaking out. Go home. Have a couple of drinks. Just chill. I'll send a tail.
It sounds like I would like it.
I know. I was shocked.
I'm into it.
I was shocked.
Yeah.
It will all fall apart. This entire thing, this like a little society doing this was
Yeah.
kind of enjoyable. The society thing falls apart too. This girl who's like itching for somebody to watch the tape for her ends up fighting our main character who still can't find her boyfriend. And this girl is basically like, I'll help you find him. I just need you to watch a tape for me first.
Yeah.
We know what's going on.
Of course.
But they get into a fight. Julia can tell that this is some sort of a scheme.
be good.
She doesn't understand, but she knows something is wrong.
I don't know a lot, but I wouldn't watch that tape.
So she manages to get away from the girl and lock herself in the bathroom. And then all the TVs in the girl's apartment start turning on.
Uh-huh.
And she's ripping them out of the wall. She's like smashing screens. She destroys her own laptop. And then finally the big flat screen on the wall turns on with the well image. And so she rips it off the television, unplugs it, rips all the wires off, and leaves the TV flat. Like the screen is flat on the ground. But water starts pouring out of it.
Uh-oh.
And then it lifts up, and Samara is climbing down out of the TV. And so the TV is
I
now
love rings.
like lifting up off of her at an angle as she comes out of the television.
Yeah.
And kills the girl.
Yeah.
And then Samara, the girl in the bathroom, Julia, is like, what the hell are these sounds? And through the frosted glass window of the bathroom door, Samara comes over, and so you can just barely see the shape of Samara through the glass. Like sort of like fuzzy and distorted. You can't quite make her out. Julia tries to peek through the keyhole to see what's going on, and just Samara's eye is looking right back at her. And another thing I like about the American movies, I'm really praising these terrible remakes.
Well, whatever.
But one of the effects of Samara in the American movies is she's got this CGI static all over her.
Yeah.
Even when she's in our world, she looks like a VHS image, which is really fun. I really, really like that.
I like it too.
And so Samara's now seen Julia. Julia gets roped in. The stuff that sucks is that she finally meets up with her boyfriend. He learns about the curse and everything. And he's like, you gotta make a copy of the video, just like the tapes.
Yeah.
So she copies a QuickTime video
Okay.
on his desktop and pastes it. Pastes a copy. It's just like not as interesting.
Nah.
You'd think in the age of cell phones, it would just be, I send you a video.
Yes.
Now it's on your phone too.
Yeah, right.
But no, they copy an MP4.
Yeah, it feels lamer, even though it's the exact same
It's the same thing,
premise.
but it feels lamer. Just like if you're trying to dramatize something, it's just not as interesting as going like, here, look for yourself.
Right.
And then you send the image and you hear like, bloop, bloop, on your phone. It's like, you've got
Yeah.
it. Now it's on your device.
Yeah, it's on you.
But so now she's cursed and they've got to get to the bottom of this. And the tape has become a mega tape. They go back to Johnny Galecki and he's like, we'll help you too. We'll make a copy of your tape, pass it on to somebody else. You don't have to worry about any of this. I've never seen somebody selflessly copy the tape to take the curse themselves. I've never seen that before. But you, Julia, you did that for your boyfriend. You took the curse to save him. Never seen that before. Anyway, let's copy your file to give it to someone else. Well, that's strange. Dang thing won't copy.
Uh-oh.
Julia's tape has become the like mega tape.
Whoa.
It's new. It's different. It has different scary images on
mutated
it.
like a virus.
Yes. And her mega tape that can't be copied has new cryptic images on it that she has to figure out, like Naomi Watts did. Which makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, totally.
And I was like, ooh, what are these new scary images going to be? Because the original tape is like a wriggling finger in a box and like maggots. And then it clicks and the maggots are now like writhing teeny bodies and stuff. Like really weird and scary.
Again, like Willy Wonka, like the scary tunnel.
Sure. And yeah, there is a big centipede. Yeah. But so I'm like, what are the cool new things going to be? It looks like the opening to American Horror Story.
Okay.
Like, not to be
but
super snobby, but it's like, here's a church and all the Bibles are floating.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's just like, all right. Like, every one of them is now, they're not just seemingly discordant images. Every single thing is a metaphor somehow.
Typical scary images.
Typical scary. But so they figure it all out. They got to get Samara's body, and there's a priest that took the body, played by Vincent D'Onofrio. He's blind.
Okay.
Turns out he's Samara's birth father.
Oh.
We've met the adoptive parents in The Ring. We met birth mother in Ring 2, and here we've got the father, which actually makes a certain amount of sense.
Yeah,
Which
sure.
I was surprised by. Vincent D'Onofrio blinded himself so that Samara could not ever kill him.
All right.
Also kind of interesting.
Pretty sound.
And he had kidnapped Samara's mother and kept her in the basement even when she gave birth.
Okay.
So, like, he's somewhat part of the curse. Although, this is a big thing to drop just in a sentence. There's, you know about, like, how there are references throughout the franchise that Samara's father might be a water deity?
I don't really remember.
There's, like, mentions that, like, her father is basically Poseidon. That's why she's associated with water and stuff.
All right.
But I don't know anything about that. I know about Vincent D'Onofrio, who's a big major creep, and eventually now tries to kidnap Julia, saying that she reminds him of Samara's mother. He's going to keep her.
Oh,
but
boy.
then Samara sort of comes to the rescue? Question mark? And cures her father's blindness so that he can see her, so that she can kill him.
Okay.
And ultimately, at the end of the movie, You know how like everybody in the franchise always gets marked, like they have like Samara's hand on
Yeah.
them and stuff. Julia got marked too, but because it's the mega tape, the mark is different. It's like bumps on her palm.
Oh.
The bumps, those aren't just normal bumps. They're braille. It means rebirth.
Oh my God.
Julia has been possessed by Samara, and at the end of the movie, we find out that oh my God, I just remembered what happens. I took all these notes, by the way. I'm just talking.
Yes.
We find out that Julia has been possessed by Samara, and as we learn this information, she's like peeling her own skin and seeing that there's pale, gross flesh under there. Mm-hmm. Which, like, wouldn't you want to possess somebody so that you look alive?
Yeah.
Not so that your skin peels off and you look like a spooky ghost.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, her boyfriend's on his computer, and all of a sudden the Julia MP4 file starts copying, going like bloop, 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 copying over and over and over and over and over and over, and automatically sending to everybody in his address book.
Oh no.
And it just says like, hey, watch this video. Hey, I think you'd like this video. And he's going, no, no, no,
What?
no.
Yeah.
And you smash to credits. And the implication that the mega tape has gone,
Yeah.
talk about a viral video.
Talk about viral. I know.
And the curse has gone so big, probably takes over the globe,
Of course.
but we'll never know. 'cause
Somehow we're
that's-
still here.
That's the last one.
Yeah. I mean, there is a lot of sweet sounding stuff in that. I think
There's a
that's-
lot that I like in
I would
that.
give it a look.
Here's the weirdest, the final thing that I want to tell you about is true. I was thinking a lot about the fact that there's videotape has images from a psychic girl on it, and how that's silly, but what's crazy is I've seen a headline recently, this is true, there are computers that are able to read brainwaves and then basically say like, they'll show somebody a video.
Yeah.
And then they'll have this computer thing that can read your brainwaves and reconstruct images from the video you just watched.
Okay.
And so I've pulled
Yowie.
an example of this in screen on the video. This is real. Mm-hmm. Somebody watched a video where there's like a person's face, and then a computer tries to reconstruct what they saw.
And it's really just
by
a blurry version of it.
reviewing the brainwaves, and it's a blurry, no-face human shape.
Right.
This is real. This is real modern technology. Mm-hmm. And so in a weird sense, this ridiculous Ring story about a psychic girl who makes a haunted videotape from her own mind, it's like she had AirPlay, like like an iPad.
Yeah, right.
You know, she like wirelessly transferred this stuff to a tape.
Right.
And that's why it comes out all weird and cryptic.
Yeah.
And you've got to decode it. Because when this thing reads your
it's pretty
brainwaves,
similar.
I don't know who that is, but you can probably find out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like this technology, modern technology mimics Sadako's curse tape.
Yeah.
Is what I'm saying to you.
We always knew we would get here someday.
It's true. And then I
Like
have one
flying
more
cars.
thing that I want to show you. But, you know, there's a risk that comes with it. You might be
Okay.
cursed, or this could just be the end of all things.
All right. I'm ready to take the chance.
If you say so. Here we go. So right here on the TV behind us, I've got disturbing
goodness.
footage coming through to our side. What is it? A child crawling into our world? This is, I'm playing for Kristen a video I took. We were recently at the family reunion.
Yeah.
And Zoe was climbing through a thing that looked like a TV, and she looked like
She looks
Samara.
like Sadako.
Yeah. So there you
Yay.
go. That's my little cursed baby tape.
There could never be a better finish.
That's true.
Yeah.
So that's it. That's all.
The best.
I don't want to talk about it anymore.
Well, we hope that you enjoyed this episode all about The Ring. Like we said, go to patreon.com/gttupod if you'd like to support the show and get a bunch of awesome bonuses. You can also go to gttupod.com if you would like to check out all things Guides to the Unknown. There are links to all of our episodes, information about advertising with us, links to our Facebook group, our merch, all kinds of fun stuff.
Yeah. Thank you all for hanging out with us. Thank you to anybody who supports us on Patreon.
Big time.
I'm going to post that video of Zoe climbing around like a little teeny tiny Sadako.
Yeah.
Actually, this is true. For this show, I edited that video and tried to cut it together with sounds from the Ring tape. And then it would go to static at the end.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a big, like a scary tape. And I was doing that on my phone on Adobe Premiere Rush. And I closed it and reopened it, and it was gone.
Oh, that sucks.
So, curse?
Could be.
Yes.
Likely.
Gonna say yeah.
Yeah.
Gonna go with definitely yeah. So thank you all so much for hanging out with us. Make sure you come back Monday. We're going to be looking at a bunch of Ring clips. We're going to be reacting to actual moments from the franchise and parodies of it and ways that people have used Samara and Sadako to prank unsuspecting strangers. That's Monday on patreon.com/GTTUpod. Next week, we'll be back with another spooky topic to cover here on the main show. Until then, make sure you follow us online.
Yep, I'm at Chillin' Kristen, and you can follow all of our social media at GTTUpod.
I am at The Myth Traveler. So see you next week, everybody. But until that time comes, we must travel.
Back to the netherworld go we. Yikes.
Back into the television.
Back to the well.
First you listened, now you die.